Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Is back talking about books. It has been a while. It's been around a month since I've posted a video, and a lot has happened since my last video, okay? I just really needed a break. I really needed some time to reflect after the train wreck that were my last two videos. I did not realize how much those books would actually affect me, and they actually heavily affected me. After I read those books, I did not want to be associated with it. I did not feel like a good person after reading those books. I've read a lot of crazy stuff, okay? For some reason, I just felt so icky in my heart and so gross that I was associated with books like these, that it was so popular, that I picked it up, that I liked it at first, and then it just kind of spiraled into this insanity of things happening to somebody. I just needed time to sit in my feelings and stew and be like, I cannot believe how bad this book is making me feel, that I actually read it and that I'm associated with it now. I just felt really icky. If you liked it, like I've said again, like if you've liked it, that's none of my business, right? But on a personal level, I couldn't do it. And then on top of that, a lot has happened in the last month, okay? Not just my life, but politically. And I did not want to post a video within that time. I think maybe we all needed some time to reflect. I would say that the last month is a month of realizations about where we stand as a society, I guess. So I just didn't post a video for the last month. I also went on vacation. And so after this last month of not really focusing on YouTube, on not posting any videos, I thought to myself, the next book that I pick up has to be something that will make me feel better about myself and make me believe in humanity again. And so that's why I was like, I need a cute little rom-com. I need a cute little rom-com. And everybody always talked about Abby Jimenez. I went on vacation, right? Out of the country for a little bit. And on my trip, I decided to pick up Abby Jimenez. And I started Part of Your World. That's the first book to her Part of Your World series. I will do a video actually on each book individually. This video in particular is going to be Abby Jimenez as an author as a whole and what I thought about the series as a whole. Okay, I picked up Part of Your World, which is the first book in the series. I really liked it towards the end, but when it first started out, I wasn't really eating it up. The writing is not amazing. It was kind of cringy. There was nothing in the writing that was special. A lot of the things that would happen, it would be told instead of shown. Like, oh, the chemistry was great. I'm like, can we see the chemistry? Can we see the banter? I'll get into it more with my dedicated video on the first book. But then after getting halfway through that first book and getting to the second half of the book, it just picked up speed and it got so much better. I was reading it on the airplane coming back home. I was crying. I was sniffling. There was tears streaming down my face. It was just so cute and heartwarming. And I thought, wow, the book didn't start out great, but it ended really, really well. It was like a 4 out of 5 star book for me. I really liked it. Decided, okay, let's go to book 2. Book 2 is called Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. Thought nothing of it. I honestly just wanted to read the first 2 books just to get to book 3 because book 3 was released this year and it became really popular. And tell me why book 2 became my favorite book of the series. That might be an unpopular opinion because everybody loves Just for the Summer, which is the 3rd book. I personally loved Yours Truly the best, especially as a romance book. I think it just showed the connection between two people in such a raw and cute way. The way that they interacted, the way that they understood each other on an innate level. Oh my god, I ate it up. Tell me why I read that book in under 24 hours. Like, I'm a slow reader too. I was literally rotting in my bed reading this book, flipping page after page, chapter after chapter, eating this book up and crying throughout. Is it flawed? Yes, it is, but I'll get to that when I get to my dedicated video on Yours Truly. But I loved that book. Oh my god, 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was so gut-wrenching. We need to bring back yearning in romance. We need to bring back pining. No one pines anymore. No one yearns. No one, like, there's no longing anymore. This book had longing. This book had longing. I ate it up. I love longing. Did it have miscommunication? Yes, it did. But after reading Yours Truly, that solidified that Abby Jimenez was an insta-read author to me. Then you get to book 3. It's not as good as book 2, in my opinion. I thought that it started out really cutesy. It has a very interesting setup. It's very much like Good Luck Chuck. Both of these characters, after they date people for a little bit, when they become exes, their next partner finds their soulmate. Okay, it's very much like Good Luck Chuck as the storyline, and they decided, why don't we try to date each other and cancel out the curses that they think they have? Then maybe when we find somebody else after we have this little arrangement, after we just date just for the summer, then the next person we're with is our soulmate. They have this little arrangement where it's like a temporary relationship just to solve that issue. Instead of a romance, it really becomes a character story specifically for the woman in the book. Thought it started out slow, and then by the end, it just picks up speed. It is so gut-wrenching. You learn so much about the traumas, the past, the family lives of these people. They grow as people, especially Emma, who is the female lead in the book, and it ends the book in such a cute, lovey-dovey story. So that is sort of the synopsis of all 3 books, sort of what I thought about everything. I've discovered some things with Abby Jimenez and with these 3 books. One of them is Abby Jimenez has now become one of my Insta-read authors. I think the way that she writes is so simplistic, is so on the nose. There is no literary language that she uses to talk about emotions, to show how deeply they connect. She's very much just like, oh, we hung out. We had such great chemistry. It was such a good time. Okay, what about the time that you guys hung out made it feel like there was such good chemistry, you know? But there's something in that about the simplicity in the writing that is also really easy to read. And then on top of that, you do get moments where there's just so many mundane things happening in all of these books that the love comes out of the mundane. Love shows up in places where it's not these huge gestures, huge grand gestures of acts that people are doing. It's about, you're sick, let me help you out, let me take care of you. It's all about just like caring for each other and being there for each other. That is a commonality in all her books. She's an instant-read author because of the simplicity of the writing and because her characters and their emotions are just very strong in the story. And as a character-driven reader, I love that. I love that these people, these characters feel like real people. A lot of the time, they go through things, and a lot of their lives are very complicated. Finding love is not easy, but they get through it, decide to stick with each other. That is a commonality in all of her books. Feel like they go through a lot, and you will cry in every single one of her books. I don't know why I cried. I literally cried in every single one of her books. I just felt so deeply for a lot of the emotions that was coming out of me, that I was feeling for these characters. Secondly, when you read Abby Jimenez, another thing that is common in all her books is that it will start off slow. It will start off not that great, except maybe for Yours Truly. I thought that Yours Truly actually started off a lot stronger than when it was in the middle and towards the end, but I'll talk about that later. Usually in her books, they don't start off that great. They kind of start off not really finding its footing. As time goes on, you get to the middle of the book, it's kind of slow. They're just building this relationship, and sometimes it's not that fun to read. But then by the second half of the book, by the end of the book, so many things happen and it's just twist after turn. And then you end up sobbing on the floor, rethinking your life. And that's when all of the emotions get wrung out. And that's when all of these deep connections happen. And it just becomes so much better in the second half. So the second thing is that the books always start off slow and then end really, really great. She would be a 5 out of 5 star read every single time if she started her books the way she ends them. There's just so much angst. There's so much feeling in what these characters feel for each other, in how much they want each other, in what they are going through, whether it be family, whether it be the relationship, friendship, complications in their lives, etc., etc. You feel so deeply about the things that these characters are going through. By the end, you're like, damn, if they had this much energy in the beginning and the beginning kind of wasn't as bland, then I would have really liked it. Or even the middle. So a lot of the times the middle of these books are slow, take a lot of time to just develop. There are pacing issues, but they end really, really well. And I think that the payoff is sort of worth that. All her books are like 500 pages long. Ms. Gurley, why are they so long? A lot of her books could really be condensed down. They are very much slow burn books, but they don't need to be slow burn, if that makes sense, because of how she makes the reader leave her books and how she makes the reader feel by the end of them. That is why she is such a popular author now and why everybody has rated her so highly. By the end, you kind of forget how you were feeling in the beginning and the middle, how it didn't really start off that great and it was kind of boring in some parts in the middle. But then by the end, you're sitting there rethinking your life, thinking like, oh my god, these people are so sweet, the things they're going through. You forget everything because they always end so strong. When you start rating the book and you start writing reviews on the book, you're like, yeah, I really love the book. And I think that is totally valid too. Like, all of these books are just so emotional. All of them. I just really don't get how she does it. How does she write in such a simplistic way, not using pretty much any literary language, but make readers feel so emotional about the things that are happening in the book? None of her books are super smutty too. If that is what you want, she has around the exact same level of smut as Emily Henry, okay? It's like one smut scene in the entire book at the climax of the book. Okay? I like that she doesn't use as a strategy to connect characters. Instead, she uses actual things that are happening to them. The characters actually talking and conversing. This is such an unpopular opinion, okay? But I have to be honest about how I personally felt about these books, okay? Because I feel like everybody likes the last book, Just for the Summer, the best. I liked it the least best, okay? So my ranking would be the best book out of the series is Yours Truly. The second best book of the series is Part of Your World, and the third best is Just for the Summer. Now, this is a ranking very specifically on romance, as a romance book. I just think Just for the Summer did not have the romance aspect as strongly in here. I didn't feel as if these two characters were soulmates, that they hung out with each other, they knew each other on an innate level. It was more so a character story more than it was a romance story. The romance was lacking in the last one. That's why it's not my favorite when it comes to the connection between the characters, and why I found a lot of the middle portion of the book to be quite boring. The end was really good, but the end was also not about the relationship as much as it was about the character realizing a lot of things about herself. The second best was Part of Your World, and the reason why is because it started out not strong at all. I was reading it, I was like, damn, this is what everyone is saying that they like this author. The way it was written, there was a lot of ideas being put out, and it didn't feel like there was a finality to it. Like, I didn't know where I was going. The main character has this one night stand with this guy who lives in the crack of nowhere. It was like a really good time that they had. I just never really understood where the book was going. Author, as she was writing it, didn't know where she wanted to take the story, but then as she kept writing it, she found her footing and was like, oh, this is how I want it to end. And then she put all the pieces together as she was writing it, and then that's why the end was so good. That's how it felt like to me, because all the way in the beginning she was talking about how, oh my god, we had such good chemistry, we were bantering back and forth. I was like, girl, where? Like, I want to see that. I want to see the banter. I want to see you guys walking back and forth. I want to see the chemistry between you. But she never actually wrote out what happened and the chemistry that they were having. Oh, we hung out all night that night and talked all night. I was like, girl, can we at least see one scene where they do that? Come on. But then as you got to the end, these two characters loved each other to a point where they would sacrifice so much for each other to be together. Even though the third act conflict was so obvious how they were gonna solve it, I really liked how unavoidable it was. It wasn't like some sort of miscommunication and that's why they couldn't be together. It was a very real, very specific reason. You could feel more of the love between the characters and what they would do for each other and how they would care for each other in that first book, and how they understood each other and knew each other, respected each other, and saw things that nobody else could see. Part of Her World was my second favorite of the series, and then my first favorite of the series is Yours Truly. And oh my god, tell me why this book is so flawed. Tell me why this is like miscommunication trope on There's so much miscommunication. It was getting annoying, and they could have cut a lot of it out. If they did cut a lot of it out, middle back and forth miscommunication of it, I would have given this book, with no doubt in my mind, a 5 out of 5 stars. They just dragged the miscommunication on for way too long, and they added extra complications at the end that felt like it came out of nowhere. And I will talk about that when I talk about the book as its own video. But I loved this book the most because I felt like the love in this book was the most raw and real. After I was reading Yours Truly, after I finished it, I sat in my room for days just replaying scenes in my head, thinking about it, because I was like, wow, this couple is meant for each other. They are soulmates. They understand each other on an innate level. Because tell me why they were talking about male lead's anxiety, his introvertedness, how he gets panic attacks, how he can't be in rooms full of people for a long period of time, and he doesn't like being around people, but he always wants to be around her because she understands him on an innate level, understands the things that make him tick, but he is uncomfortable. They are friends first. I don't know what it is about this couple that just felt so sweet. They just knew each other. They knew each other, and they showed the ways that they knew each other through their interactions. Premise of the book, I'm not spoiling anything. The premise of the book, it's on the back of the cover, is that he is such a nice guy, a good person, that he wants to donate his kidney to her brother who is immunocompromised and needs a kidney transplant. He literally is donating his kidney to her brother. And the way they talk about that complication, you understand the reason why they are meant for each other, why they love each other. The only thing that was annoying about it is that they couldn't actually tell each other, couldn't open up their feelings like as close as they are, as much as they know each other so well. It was so frustrating to see how they were just pining and longing for each other, which I love, right? But they were pining and longing for each other for so long. They know each other, but they don't know each other enough to be like, yeah, I know you love me and you know I love you. How do you guys know each other that much, but you can't even admit that to yourself for that long? The way they set up who these people were, how much they understood each other. I'm like, they're soulmates. They're soulmates. Oh my God. So cute. That is my long ramble about this series. Please let me know if you've read it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Overall, this series gave me a little bit more happiness that I needed in my life right in time for Christmas, Thanksgiving season. A little more happiness and gave me more hope for humanity after reading this series. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.